Hey, good evening. This is the kind of time that I'm having right now, guys. I am so unbelievably sorry. This is not my usual MO, and I apologize unreservedly to everyone who might have watched on Facebook. Um, Clearly, the stream didn't start. I thought that I'd set the start time for 8:30 tonight. I did not realize that I had set it for 7:30 tonight, and here we are, myself and one other viewer. So I apologize. I really do. This is not how I do the thing. If you're new to the stream, again, this is not how I do the thing. So there's no excuses. I just got caught up doing other things and let things slip out of my hands. So, hello, Michael Connor, if you're still there. Yes, Mar, Doom Sword. I've got some nerve doing what I'm about to do here, which is put up my little Patreon cup rattle. But thank you guys for sticking around, for being here. Yes, Mar, Jack Photon, Doom Sword, and I'm sure there might be a couple of other people, but of course, YouTube, the man, will keep me down. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about scheduling and this week and how things are going. Obviously, I don't have a guest right now. Hello, Damien. Good to see you. Tonight was supposed to be a meetup with Servant of Shiloh, RPG Elite, but he had some tragedy strike his life. I linked the video on the Discord. You can go watch it. So he kind of breaks it down there. He had to take a mental health break and step away because of some things that had happened with him. And we wish him the best of luck. Hopefully we'll get to see him next week. So that's the hope. And I want to talk about being even more of a disappointment to you guys before I talk about good stuff. So I know I've been hyping coming up this week, doing an anniversary show. The anniversary show is still going to happen. However, I'm not doing it this Saturday. It's too close. It's like 48 hours from now. And I don't have a real clear picture of what I'm going to do when I'm not having people pop in and say hi. And I really, really would rather have a good show schedule planned. What am I going to do for 12 hours? And I want to bring you guys something, something positive. Rather than just me sitting and staring and umming and ahhing for half of a day. And I've had some stuff pop up too. I need to lend some assistance to a friend of mine. And also, I need to work on a few things. There are some people in the chat right now, and there are some people who watch the videos later. There are some people who don't watch the videos at all, or they don't watch the live streams. They watch the videos later. That little crawl I've got going down there across the bottom, asking for Patreon support. Here's the thing about Patreon. You folks who support me on Patreon are paying for something. What's the first syllable of Patreon? Pay. It is, at the end of the day, a salary. I agree to do a certain amount of work for a certain amount of money. You receive goods or services from me. I receive money back from you. I have not lived up to that expectation. And I apologize for that. There's no excuses. There's simply no excuses. So I've got to work my ass off and make that up to people. And doing a fun 12-hour stream is very cool and everything, but it also doesn't get the people who are paying me to do this what they paid for. So when I think in terms of free time and doing things on the side, I need to be thinking in terms of living up to those obligations. I mean, the first month you can make one might make an excuse on my behalf and say, oh, well, yeah, no, it's the first month. You're getting your feet under you. Well, that was January. And then we just went all the way through February. So that's when January commitments should have been met, right? Well, here we are in March. And anyone who's at the $5 or $10 tiers can tell you they have gotten jack and shit from me. There's no excuse for it. I mean, I could say that, oh, my dog's eye, I just haven't had the time. That's 10 minutes every 8 hours. Well, 30 minutes every 8 hours I have to take to medicate his eye. That's 90 minutes out of a day. Assuming 8 hours of sleep. Ha! like I get 8 hours of sleep a night. That's 14 and a half hours a day that I could have done something in. You know, knocking out a couple of hours to eat, an hour or so to prepare meals for the fam. 12 hours. 12 hours. And I haven't done that. And I'm sorry to you, the folks who have paid for something and you haven't gotten it, because that's not me. That's not what I want to be. You know, I watched one video about failed Kickstarters and other stuff on YouTube, and YouTube just kind of vomits all of that stuff via its algorithm onto me. It's like, oh, you watched a video about one failed Kickstarter? Here's a dozen, plus a guy who ripped somebody off for NFTs, plus this weird thing that's going on with somebody's GoFundMe and all this other stuff. And I watch it and I think, yeah, man, those guys are a bunch of chumps, man. They, you know, not getting their money honestly. You know, they're grifting. Well, what have I done for 3 months? What have I done? So I'm going to fix that. Someone was kind enough to reach out to me and offer to help me with layout and setup on the adventures. I am going to probably take them up on that. There's little videos. I have I paid for. I've invested money. I've spent some of your money so I could make a video to fulfill that. This TSR Pocket game here. You know, I mean, it's crispy, minty, still in its shell. And I was like, oh boy, that's going to make a great patrons video. And here it sat. I opened it up and I put it over here. I flashed it on the camera briefly the day it got here. And there it is sat. I am surrounded by hundreds of dollars worth of audio video gear. At any point, I could have walked from that side of the studio to this side, sat down, turned the cameras on, and made that video. And I haven't. And I am sorry. This is my apology. I will do better. Okay, so let us move on. Thank you, Doomsword. Thank you very much for your kind words. And Jack, I feel a little differently about it. I mean, it's it's okay to e-beg, it's okay to grift, but give people what they ask for, right? Um, but here's a positive thing. Here's a positive thing that I want to talk about. So, um, Alan Grohe, who is a very cool underground force in tabletop role playing games, is actually here in the Orlando area. And I actually thought about doing a video last night, doing a stream last night, because he was here. Like, we hung out, but by the time we got back to my house, we had a narrow window of time. We wanted to get dinner. I had to get him back to the Universal Studios area, the theme park here in Central Florida, which is like, 45 minutes away, and stopping along the way and getting dinner and everything. So we didn't really have time. So he basically came, oohed and awed over stuff. We chit chatted some and then headed out. So it was a lot of fun hanging out with Grow Dog, and I had a lot of fun doing that with him. But I want to tell you a story about how I gained a viewer. Hopefully didn't lose him with that pathetic little spiel of mine. But so yesterday, first of all, we went to Gods and Monsters, and I don't have the thing. I said we were going to do mail call, and I don't have the thing that I got from Gods and Monsters. I don't mean I got at Gods and Monsters, like I bought it and then I'm going to say, hey, look, mail call. I mean, I received it as a gift from Todd and Anna, who are friends of mine, and it is an awesome gift. And I'm going to show it tomorrow. But so we went to Gods and Monsters and had a fine time. Alan liked it, I think. It was nice to be in the store again, because I hadn't been there. I didn't realize I hadn't been there since before Christmas. That's nuts. I had not been there since before Christmas. And it was or no, wait, no, I went in January. I went in January, but I I saw them and they were like, hey, here's your Christmas gift. So I will show that to you guys tomorrow before we play Gamma World. We'll do a stream before Gamma World. Thank you, Jack, for your kind words. The whole thing is predatory on the general populace. The only people truly making money is the top brass people, and making those people the bottom feel crap about it. Well, anyway. So I got this lovely thing, and I'm going to show it to you guys, and it's going to be neat. But let us move on. So Grow Dog tells me, yeah, there's a couple of other comic and game shops I'd like to check out if we can get to them. Now, the first one, he's like, oh, there's such and such books and games in some place called D-Land. D-Land is like 30 minutes plus away from my house in the other direction. So it's like, it would have been like, yeah, dude, that's not in the cards. But we drove across Orlando first after we left Gods and Monsters. Now, my buddy James Boney has been on the stream and he's talked about this place before, and I know some of you actually know where I'm talking about. There is an institution in Orlando when it comes to comics and games called Enterprise 1701. It was called Enterprise 1701. It is called Sci-Fi City now. They started here in my little borough of Longwood, and then they moved out to Orlando proper, right in the middle of Orlando, in a little tiny shop. The shop literally had 2 parking spots in front of it because it's kind of near downtown Orlando. And, it's downtown parking in any city that's bigger than a podunk. It means you're either going to luck into one of those spots, or you're going to park blocks away in a parking lot that somebody else is okay with and then walk there. But that was Enterprise 1701. And then they moved from that very busy intersection that was extremely hard to get into and out of their store to like a few hundred yards from the main gate of a huge Navy base that used to be here in Orlando called the NTC, Naval Training Center. And that main gate, or that main drag was called Corinne Drive. And they started out they leased like one shop, and then they leased another shop to the left, then another shop to the left of that one, putting passageways in to expand out into. And it was very neat. But then they moved from there a few blocks further west, a few miles further west, into a shopping center, and changed their name to Sci-Fi City and became part of a larger chain. And their store was it was huge. It was giant. Think like a grocery store sized space. Fortunes for a specialty retail store can wax and wane. And this place definitely did. And it began to wane. And they moved from that place across the parking lot to a freestanding location that was smaller, like maybe 2/3 or even half the size. Now, I would say half the size at most. And that's where Alan and I went. And I told him about the history of this place and how it was called Enterprise 1701 and how they had actually gotten permission to call the place Enterprise 1701 from Paramount. As long as I think it's because their first street address was 1701 on the road or the street they were on. And so they said, hey, could we call ourselves Enterprise 1701? And at the time, you're talking about like the mid 1970s. Paramount was probably just handing stuff like that out. Sure. And as long as they didn't try to claim that they were an official voice for Star Trek or anything, it was just kind of a cool thing that they could do. And then they dropped that after they left their second location on Corinne Drive. So we went there and we saw some stuff. They actually had a little bit of old school. They had many, many issues of Dragon Magazine and Dungeon Magazine going way back to the low digits on Dungeon. And yes, they know what they have and they were priced accordingly. So, and some low single digits. I would say the oldest was probably in the 50s. And we checked that out. It's they've kind of cleared it's too far in one direction. Like I would rather go to Gods and Monsters with the bar and and all that sort of thing. But be that as it may. So we went there, and Alan, who was my guest, said, all right, there's a couple of other places I'd like to check out. I said, sure. What's one of the other places? Well, it's a used bookstore called Park Avenue Books, CDs, and Games. And I was a little nonplussed because once upon a time in a suburb township near to Orlando called Winter Park, Park Avenue had a store on it, Park Avenue Records, Tapes, and CDs. I hadn't gotten back to that section for many years. And when I did, Park Avenue record tapes and CDs and videos was gone. So that was a bit of a puzzler. I was like, oh, maybe they're reopening a new place. Well, what's the address? And he gives me the address and I punch it in. And I'm driving along, listening to the directions on the phone, having a jolly time talking with Alan. We leave Sci-Fi City. We hook back through the neighborhood, the old Navy base neighborhood, now all residential. And wouldn't you know it, Park Avenue record tapes and CDs is now in the place that Enterprise 1701 used to be. I hadn't been to that part of town in over a decade. To say I was flabbergasted would be a gross understatement. Jack Photon says there's a place around Orlando called Cloak and Blaster. Yeah, I think Cloak and Blaster is still here. It's a geek pub. I do believe the Cloak and Blaster is still here. So there we are, and I just had to laugh, and I'm like, hey, this is where Enterprise 1701 used to be. So we pile out and we go inside, and I should make a point about something. I was wearing this t-shirt. I washed and dried it, guys, don't worry. But I was wearing this t-shirt also yesterday. And we go in and we start walking up the first aisle. Now, Alan's a big prog rock fan. You know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes, King Crimson, Marillion, you know, prog rock. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, I like the popular, like the stuff that gets play on classic rock stations, but I'm not going to sit down and listen to Tales from Topographical Seas and just jam to that for like 70 plus minutes. So we go in, Alan and I go in, and we're walking up the first aisle, and I glance over, and there's a young man standing in that aisle wearing this exact shirt. This same shirt, not the same shirt, not the same one I'm wearing. I'm sorry. Like he didn't like pull it off and then put it on. That's not what I'm saying. But he was wearing an identical print t-shirt of this black. I was like, wow, hey, look at that. I can't go out anywhere. Somebody, you know, without somebody copying my style or whatever it was I said. And, you know, we had a laugh about it. And so we start chit-chatting. Now, again, this feller is you know, not anywhere near as old as I am, right? But then again, who is? And we start talking about D&D. He had just gotten into classic Dungeons and Dragons. He liked original D&D, was just starting to dabble into first edition AD&D, but white box, swords and wizardry. And he starts talking about all these games and like, I know all the people who developed the open source versions of these games. I'm like, yeah, that was Matt Finch. Yeah, I've done some work for Matt with Frog God. You know, I wrote this and that, and it, you know, and I'm not alpha geeking the guy. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, you know, I worked with Gary. You know, I knew Dave Arneson a little bit. It's just a good conversation. It's just, you know. And we had just it was a great meeting moment there talking about D&D. And he's subbed to the channel. He's joined the Discord server. He was on Discord. We got our phones out, you know, swapped info and everything. So James Ortrees, if you see James Ortrees out on the Discord server, give him a hello. But I think about how gosh darn serendipitous that was. How amazingly serendipitous that was. Here I am. Like, I would have never gone down to Sci-Fi City. And I mean, just the time I had to stop for gas on our way to Winter Park CDs and books. And then I realized, oh my gosh, my tire is low. I need to get air in it. And then we go there on that day, at that hour, at that minute, and bump into this guy who had just moved to Orlando from Vero Beach. And he's into classic D&D, and he's wearing the basic D&D Earl Otis shirt. And it was just like, wow, I mean, what are the odds? Well, I mean, clearly the odds are 1-1 because, yeah, Doom Sword. He was from Vero Beach. He said, I, "See, the serendipity gets weirder because Doom Sword Deathmaster there is from Vero Beach, Florida. I mean, I guess he is in Vero Beach, Florida right now, but so it's bump into this young man, and we make this connection, and he joins us on the Discord server. I tell him about the live stream and everything, and now he's going to be all disappointed because I got him hyped for the anniversary show, which um, I'm going to do, and we're going to jump back to talking about that, but so Doomsword's from Orlando, moved to Vero. You guys swapped places. You maintained the balance of old school D&D in Orlando. It's like a sort of a Stephen Hawking's kind of thing. Like one particle exited and another particle entered. So, information neither destroyed nor created. Anyway, but it was really nice. And the nicest part about it was, and this kind of morphs into a discussion I had today with my buddy Rusty. I've met guys my age who play the D&D I like, who will tell you, bald face, in no uncertain terms, they don't give a shit about growing the classic D&D hobby. I don't care about growing the hobby. I play D&D, and when I die, so what? Who cares if I'm the last person playing it? Well, that is a gosh darn cynical mindset to have. Why would you do that? Why would you not want our hobby to grow? Why would you not want things to be easier on us? One more person playing classic Dungeons and Dragons is one more person the Wizards of the Coast has got to cater more to than the 5e crowd. Why would you not want to play, or why would you not want to embrace more people and get them into the circle? And then a guy, and I kidded him, I said, okay, I got to tell the obligatory joke, sir. I said, James, I got shoes older than you. And I do. I do. Why would you not want some new blood in the hobby? I was elated because here's the thing. Michael Connor, hello. If he's going to DM 5e, he has no end of players that he can ask. But if he's going to DM classic Dungeons and Dragons, and he hooks in a bunch of people, then that's 2 to 5 more people outside of him, maybe even more, who are gonna get the fever. Because, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you, if you're doing it right, if you're not being the 300-pound cat piss man type of DM, if you're doing it right, people are going to go away from your table saying that they loved classic D&D. And I'm not saying it's going to be like I'm not like Mola Ram, it's like over here, like, first we will overthrow the 5e god, then Vampire the Masquerade, soon classic D&D will rule the world. That's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is if it gets bigger and it's easier. I mean, sure. Look, if Scotch cigars and the same fucking Dungeons and Dragons group that you've had for 40 years is all you want, then that's fine. But I want more for it. I want the things that I've done professionally to last on a little bit longer, not die the minute I do. And that's why things like that. I mean, I could have walked by, yeah, sure, and just gone on. But there was a guy I saw and I wanted to engage with, and we did, and it was a good meeting of the minds. So James, if you're watching this stream later, you're catching it later, welcome aboard, buddy. Thank you. It was good to meet you. So that was just the weird serendipity. And there is a remainder, there is a punchline, there is a gray box, side view thing over to the right of all of this text that I've thrown at you guys. And I've told you this story before, but I'm going to tell you again. Back in 91, late 91, early 92, I went to Enterprise 1701, the same shop where I was, different store, same location. And I was getting like, Battletech or, Robotech or some shit. I got a Gundam model. I was looking for giant stompy robot stuff. This was in the valley between my peaks of interest in Dungeons and Dragons. And I was with my buddy Matt Shed, and I'm over and I'm oohing and ahhing over the models, the Machine and Krieger models, and there was an SF3D Chit and Hex war game that I was considering buying, and just a lot of stuff. And I had some cash burning a hole in my pocket. My buddy Matt says, "Hey, you got $50?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" And I go up there. He's like, "You want to buy some D&D?" Under the counter, behind the glass, for the princely sum of $50, was a wood grain original D&D set. $50 back in 1992. And I laughed. And I was like, why would I buy that? Because if I had, I could flip it for $15,000 or $20,000 today. Oh my God. So that's the little, if you guys hadn't heard that story before. But I mean, hey, all of us probably, if we could go back into, I mean, like, oh, if you could invent a time machine and go back in time, wouldn't you buy up a lot of original? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why all the rare D&D stuff is rare. And now you're starting to see it come out for all this money because at some point, right around this time, someone has invented a time machine and they've gone back, they've gotten some nasty polyester clothes with wide collars and, antique car print shirts and stuff. And they filled out all the little coupons and mailed $1.50 to TSR and gotten, all the OD&D sets. And that's why they're rare. It's not that like they all just kind of fell apart and got used and lost, and the box tops got turned into improvised ashtrays until they filled up and then were thrown out, whatever. It's because somebody went back in time and bought them all. Perhaps that's it. Doomsword said 90 or 92 are bleak times for D&D. Yeah, okay, so in 89, which is not that far removed from when I first played D&D in 81, when I was getting back into role-playing games, that was when 2E came out, and I saw 2E and was like, eh. Now, I didn't know any of what had gone on inside TSR, but I knew that it looked different enough that I was just like wholly unimpressed. I just like it didn't, it lacked verve. It didn't look like the thing that I had played when I was a kid, and just looking through, I was like, I kind of like, even yes, when I was 19, I was an old man grognard. So that was when 2E had just rolled out, and then was it then was it 92 when Vampire released? You know, D&D had started kind of strong with 2E. Now, everybody who's worked on every edition has said the version of D&D we released was the most popular ever. You talk to people who worked on 2E, it was more popular than 1E. It sold more than 1E. 3E guys, 3E and 3.5 just buried 2E in terms of sales. 4th edition, way more popular than 3rd edition was. We, out of this year, 5th edition, most popular D&D ever. And then all the basic guys are like, yeah, but you could buy basic just in Sears and Walmart and Kmart and Zayres and so on. When AD&D you can hardly find, you could still get the Rules Cyclopedia at Barnes and Noble, so it was selling better. Everybody has their own mental image of how well D&D sold back in the day. So I don't know how well 2nd edition was doing. Gary told me he contends. He said, look, if you're going to release a 2nd edition, release a 2nd edition, keep original and advanced around as classic D&D. Don't split don't fire half of your fans. He claims he had information that that's exactly what happened, that when 2E was released, it cleaved off half of the fan base and it shrank. When Vampire came out, people were, Anne Rice was big. And the Dracula movie with Keanu Reeves had come out. And I think people were ready for a change, ready for a moodier, darker change. So we got White Wolf, just boom, they just blew up. So we wound up with a huge, huge confluence, and that ate into TSR sales. There was 1 year when White Wolf stuff outsold TSR. Now, the way role-playing games work is 80% of role-playing game sales are Dungeons and Dragons. The remaining, although it may be 60% now, but the remainder is everybody else. GURPS, Cyberpunk 2020, Traveler, Big Eyes, Small Mouth, Exalted, Hero System, The One Ring, just whatever else, all falls into the minority. So think about how big of a surge Vampire had to have had for 1 year to have outsold D&D. Palladium, thank you, Damien. Palladium. Paul, I am going to tell you that 2E was not the zenith of D&D art. The zenith of D&D art was in 1st edition AD&D. I mean, I look at Tui and there's nothing in Tui like the Demon Idol cover, like this, like Amir Call the Chaotic, like you know, Darlene's Succubus in the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Magic Mouth plate or a Paladin in Hell from the Player's Handbook, uh, all the gorgeous, gorgeous art. I mean, I'd be here all night listing all the individual pieces and deities and demigods. Um, I mean, I value your opinion greatly, Paul, but this is not an objective thing. I don't think. I don't think it's an objective thing. Maybe it is an objective thing. There was good art in 2E. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to. There were some lovely homages to 1E art in 2E. I did. There's one that's like, what if you, okay, so you're at the Demon Idol, it's imagine, this is the Demon Idol, there's his horns, the thieves would be here, all the characters are here, the dead lizard man is on the altar here, its eyes are right here. Somebody did a tribute to that in a 2E book, where it's like, what if you were like sitting on rafters over here looking down at that, and there's the doors open and you can kind of see what's going on. The only thing I didn't like about that was they made it look like it was in a castle. So just out of the shot we see on the player's handbook frontispiece is over here is where it would be in the shot, is like an open window and you can see like the ground and the sky at night. I always got the feeling from the player's handbook cover, it always spoke to me that it was a deep dungeon, that this is far underground. They found this statue to Balzabal or Moloch, probably more Moloch, because it does appear in L3 Deep Dwarven Delve, and it is a statue to Moloch. And if you look at the illustration of Moloch in Monster Manual 2, it very much looks like Trampy's Demon Idol. The broad, flat face, the big red eyes, the short horns. And I always thought that was a lovely, lovely tribute piece to it. And there's a couple of other. I think there's one. There's a David Sutherland drawing of an adventurer. He's like pounding on a door in a room that's flooding, and there's a skeleton rising up out of the water with a short curved dagger coming up behind him. You guys know the piece I'm talking about. I know you do. Someone did again a different perspective shot of that. I thought things like that were lovely. I think there was some fantastic art in 2E. I'm kind of a born again Elmore fan. He's not the be all end all for me, but having met Larry Elmore and talked to him a little bit, I have a lot more. LaForce, yes. Did I say Dave Sutherland? I meant Dave LaForce. There's another great color, please. There's this beatific looking female cleric, and she's holding her hands like this, and there's a bubble or a sphere around some adventurers, and they're kind of looking like this, and it's very clear that it's extremely deep underwater, and she's smiling, and they're looking ready for anything. But behind them, there's this gargantuan anglerfish with its toothy maw open, getting ready to bite the bubble. So there is a lot of admirable art into Clyde Caldwell was doing a lot of dragon covers over the years, and a lot of his work for 2E that came in at that time was phenomenal. Paul says there's definitely nostalgia involved in the opinion, but no art since is evoked. Uh, and that is where, Paul, you and I are absolutely 100% eye to eye. Nothing in 30. I mean, I am literally struggling to think of an image in 30E that I could describe to you. I just described to you a raft of stuff for second edition, and I never played second edition extensively. I have 2 second edition products on my shelf over there. Return of the Tomb of Horrors, because I got it as a set because I wanted a pastel Tomb of Horrors, and the booklet, not the maps, nothing else from it, the booklet for the cardboard cutout dungeon box set that TSR released. I bought one on clearance for like $2.99. Oh, if only I kept it, I could flip it for $100 now. But the cover's a 3.5. So just the buckled books that look like they just like had somebody antique some pieces of leather and then photographed it. Yeah, I don't understand like I understand that the blooms sucked as far as their money mismanagement, that they would spend hundreds of dollars to save a dime on every book. And what I mean by that is, like, the first release of the 2E books, and you guys who played a lot of 2E, you knew those things fell apart, right? The fall apart started with 1E books, starting with Unearthed Arcana going forward, because they wanted to use cheaper glued bindings only. And Gary was still at the company at that point, and he was like, guys, this is going to be a mistake. And people were buying Unearthed Arcana when it came out at Gen Con and coming right back to the TSR booth saying this just friggin' fell apart. And it got to the point where TSR was having to take back returns and send out basically for free. So for every one sale for a long time of Unearthed Arcana they made, until they corrected the binding on it, for every one sale they had to send out 2 copies to one customer. Yeah, Unearthed Arcana was terrible. It was bad bindings. And I don't understand, like, how they just could have botched that. I mean, one of the reasons that 2 ebooks are so in demand now, that like original print of 2 ebooks, the black covers are so wanted, is because they have all fallen apart. Finding one in good shape is pretty scarce. I like Wayne Reynolds. Yeah, Wayne Reynolds is okay. Doomsword says a 3.5. Oh, yeah, we already said that. What do I think of the cover art for the Fiend? Okay, so Fiend Folio art, some of it is amazing. A little bit of it leaves me cold. There is a distinct British punk, Brit punk aesthetic to a lot of the art, that leans more towards weird fantasy than the pulpy low fantasy of Sutherland and even Otis's artwork, despite being weird fantasy, is not the same degree of. It's a different kind of weird fantasy. It's a pulpy weird fantasy. As for I always thought the cover was very strange and evocative, and I liked it a lot, because it was different. It was just different. It looked weird compared to all the other D&D books. Monster Manual 2. Monster Manual 2 was very hit or miss. I have heard stories. Now, I don't know if this is true. Maybe we can ask Paul Stormberg the next time he's in the house. But I do not, or rather, I have heard, senior moment, I have heard that David Sutherland, there were a couple of drawings that he deliberately did badly to show his displeasure with some of the art direction the TSR was taking. But I think most of Dave Sutherland's work in the book is fine. I'm going to draw a lot of flack for this. But I love that Jeff Easley color, that full color, looks like a classic painting Jeff Easley cover. I have no complaints about it. So yeah, it was, it was just it's funny. I do bitch a lot about Fiend Folio's monster entries and stuff. Like I would say 60 or 70% of Fiend Folio is garbage. Or one use, one off. You're never going to come back to this. The real gold in Fiend Folio is the stuff that was done by TSR US. Now, let me tell you something. Let me qualify. Let me qualify. There's another. This is what I'm going to get in trouble for. I was never a fan of Jim Holloway's AD&D art. I didn't like it. It worked really, really well. His art style worked really, really well in Top Secret and in Star Frontiers. For some reason, it never sat with me in AD&D. I just didn't care for it. It has gaze avoidance rules under the Draco list. Yeah, I mean that is handy. I mean there's and it's great for paranoia. Yes, Mar. I mean you're absolutely right. His art is great for paranoia. But there's a lot of good stuff that Jim Holloway's done. I'm not saying Jim Holloway's a bad artist. I'm saying I don't like Jim Holloway's fantasy art that he did in AD&D, some modules, and Monster Manual 2. Same era, same artist. Give me a Star Frontiers module or rule book, and I'm like, yes, that is what a Yazirian with a laser rifle is supposed to look like. That looks fantastic. Jim Holloway was bad in so many places. I forgot about him. Ouch. But yeah, it just there was a Marvel Comics-ish look to Holloway's style that worked really well for science fiction and modern stuff that just didn't stick in AD&D. And I've talked about it and I've told people about it. And I'm like, his work looks like when you put an illustration by him in a module and it's literally right next to a piece by Jeff Easley, it's like a first-year violin student squeaking away on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in the left channel and Alison Krauss in the right channel. It's just so disparate. Fine for Alison, maybe. But I don't want this to like I'm bashing Jim Holloway. No, to go back to bashing the Fiend Folio. There's ample stuff in Fiend Folio that is good, but it's not The book as a whole is bad. I mean, Dragon Magazine it was the house organ for TSR, and Dragon Magazine gave it a bad review. And I could be wrong, but I think it was Russ Nicholson. You guys correct me, and I know you will. Yeah, Holloway's art in Endless Quest was gorgeous. That's another great place where Jim Holloway's stuff shown, and that was fantasy art. But in AD&D books, it was incongruous. The flump. Ugh. So years ago, when I first started on my website in 2002, because it's, this year, January of this year, 20 years of me being online about AD&D. I should have done something about that. Oh well. No, there was a time when every Wednesday I would release a new monster. I would come up with a new monster. And I did that for months and months and months, probably even a year or more. And 201, they're almost all bad. I feel that any one of them could have stood shoulder to shoulder with the Fiend Factory stuff, the filler Fiend Factory stuff that they took from readers of White Dwarf magazine and put in Fiend Folio. Like the Bone Snapper. Well, it's a kind of dinosaur. The fuck isn't in with their dinosaurs then? A sheet phantom. What? The Trillic. They literally had. I honestly wonder if the person who thought of the Trillic wasn't a Scientologist. Because if you read about the Trillic, it reads like how Scientologists describe body thetans. Now, there was good stuff in there. The Retriever. That thing's fucking scary. The Mesodaemon and Nicodemon. Gary describes those. We don't get details until D2 and D3, but they're in there. It's a nice place to have things like Loth is in there. The Mesodaemon and Nicodemon are in there. Bullywugs are in there. That's a Gary thing. The Arokara, which I think is Alan Hammock. I'll have to ask Alan if that was it. Well, no, I can look it up in the back. But you go through and there's all this stuff. And you're like, yeah, some of this is pretty okay. If you look in the back, the Retrievers, Tom Moldvay. See, there you go. If you look in the back of the book, the really solid stuff came from Lake Geneva. Loth is Gary's, the Bullywugs are Gary's and Ernie's. What else? Mesodaemon and Nicodemon are Gary's, the Buka is Gary's. And even some stuff is just based on TSR. So the Vodenoi is just an aquatic Umber Hulk. It even says it's an aquatic form of Umber Hulk. I'm not just making that up, but I mean, then you get to things like, I don't know. And I'll like, I'm trying to think. Well, what was it called? The Skulk. We already had creatures like the Skulk. I don't know, man. The Nilbog. Sweet Jesus, the Nilbog. Clyde the Thigh Master Caldwell. Oh, so yeah, the bird thing was Loshik. I knew somebody would correct me on that. Yeah, that was Loshik's. But Oriental dragons, all of them, all the good stuff came from TSR US. The really atrocious stuff was reader submissions to White Dwarf. Now, I will say this. Um, I will give this that there is some good UK stuff in there. Lou Publishers, or Pulpishers rather, Lou Pulpisher, his stuff was all pretty good. Lou knew how to design monsters. He really, really did. The Thigh Master. I like Clyde Caldwell's work. But there's just there's a lot of stuff. Now, Gith Yankee and Gith Zerai have become an iconic part of Dungeons and Dragons. I like my biggest problem with so many of the UK monsters is there was so much conditional fucky weirdness with it. So much. Yes, Lou had some great articles in Dragon Magazine. If you want to know about game design and about RPG design theory, grab a selection of Dragon magazines that have Lou Publisher articles in them and read them. I hate to say this, but it's better than Gary's essays in role-playing mastery. It just is. But yeah, check out Lou Publisher's articles. Just very good stuff. But to go back, so much of Fiend Folio, so many of Fiend Folio's monsters were fiddlies. Skeleton Warrior. Okay, so basically you have to have a remote control tiara. Skeleton Warrior really wants a tiara, but as long as you're thinking really hard at the Skeleton Warrior, it can't have the tiara. If it ever gets the tiara, it crumbles to death. The Skeleton Warrior is a statted, undead fighter creature that might have had psionics, might have had exceptional strength. And it just, the list goes on and on and on with all of the like weird conditional rules. Like, look, this is AD&D. This is not Rollmaster. Let us not get burdened down with so much concern over, you know, each different monster works differently. You know, all that stuff needed to have been thrown out. I think when TSR in the US got that manuscript, they should have put their foot down and said, no. Nil Boggs, no. Just throw them out completely. Skeleton Warriors, you got to change them up. Eye of Fear and Flame, no. Sheet Phantom, no. Just gone through with a red pen, cutting that book down, and said, give me something that's not so gimmicky. And that's what the Fiend Folio is. It's gimmicky. So much gimmicky stuff. And it makes me sad because, like, the Gith Zerai and Gith Yankee are so cool, but you gotta have psionics going. And I've talked on this stream before. About how psionics can just slam the brakes on a game, just pull the e-brake and stomp down on the clutch and the brake and just come to a screeching halt. Let's see. I heard some craziness about MAR Barker being accused of being a Nazi. Have I heard? No, I have heard nothing about that. Well, let me back up. I had heard rumors about that. I haven't heard any details about that. I mean, I wouldn't. There are people who posted over on the RPG Pundits forum who gamed with Barker on the reg. I would think if they had seen anything like that, they would have said, yeah, you know, I mean, our Barker's gone. He was a little, you know, but So I don't think it's true. And there's something also. Listen, I think the odds that RPG Pundit gives a shit what I say or do on my show are diminishingly small, SM all. We have very different goals and very different audiences, and I don't do internet blood sports and call outs and all that stuff. I think it's a stupid waste of time. So I don't talk about RPG Pundit on my show. However, if this happens to reach his ears, if anything happens to come, I just wanted to mention this. I heard about the passing of your kitty cat, Pundit, and you have my sincerest condolences. It's awful to lose a little furry companion. So again, buddy, if somebody passes this to you, or you hear about this, or even if you lurk out there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the loss of your kitty friend, dude. I am. I really am. Um, that's what I love about Paul in the streams. I can appreciate the skeleton warriors need to accessorize. Tears are a guilty pleasure. You just got to be careful though. Like, don't mistake your diadem of skeleton warrior control with your talisman of the sphere when you're trying to control a sphere of annihilation. It's like, damn it, go away, go away, go away. And the skeleton warrior's like, I'm walking. Or vice versa. Come to me. Oh crap, why is the sphere of annihilation coming towards me? Tiaras are a guilty pleasure. Weight of chains, they need the mass. I mean, if I was going to talk about things that I liked in the Fiend Folio rather than tearing it down, I'm a big fan of the Crypt thing. I mean, the Crypt thing, you mistake it for a lich. It turns out it's a treasure hoarding SOB who cracks the D&D equivalent of a dad joke, turns you invisible, paralyzes you, and teleports you in a random direction. I did. You've got to appreciate that. I mean, when you come to, it's like you can just go back to where he was, but the Crypt thing. But yeah, stuff I hate, the carbuncle. I just look. But it's got a valuable gem. Just murder it. Just freaking kill it. Just get it away. The Umplebee. The aforementioned Nilbog. Is the Necrophidius the skull that basically uses like an extra long spinal column as its body? The yellow musk zombie and the yellow musk creeper. Although I maintain that scarier is a necromancer who raises zombies up and orders them to stand still in a room and then encourages the growth of yellow mold all over the zombies and sends them roaming around the dungeon. That to me is better than the yellow musk zombie. Not to be confused with the Elon Musk zombie. Now that I've said his name, he's gonna start saying nasty stuff about me on Twitter, I bet. Hashtag the Dungeon Delver. Screw you, man. I'm going to Mars. I don't know. I made him sound like Christopher Walken meets President Trump. I don't know. I don't know why but like the Sons of Caius are okay. Coffer Corpse is decent. Necrophidius, I don't remember enough about what it does. I mean, the Flump's moldy too. I hate Flumps. I don't like comedy gimmick monsters, which is why I hate nilbogs and flumps. And the carbuncle, I think, is the same thing. I think there's a couple of variations of troll that I'm just like not with. Spirit trolls. What if we force mated a troll and an invisible stalker? Who the how many pints did you have in you, mate? Cal is just heartbroken about the hatred, about the shade I've thrown for the flumps. You know what flumps are good for? Flip them over. Just flip them upside down so that they just jet into the floor and they can't. They just lie there pathetically. Okay. I don't dislike Grell. I think Grell are pretty cool. But a big floating brain with tentacles and a beak coming out of it just in my opinion, should be a little bit more than just, well, it can attack you with its tentacles and bite you with its beak. Like, I would have thrown magic use and psionics on that bitch. I would have been like, it's a big brain. It's going to have big brain things, like super genius, you know? Like it plays chess with beholders on its off days. Sons of Caius, the band that will become Caius. The Sons, I think the band Caius did lift that. But I could be wrong. Lava Children. Why? Did we not have enough fire elementals? Did we need a good fire elemental that just looked like they Lava Children look like if you put He-Man's outfits onto Cabbage Patch Kids. I'll tell you a good one, a really good one is the Lizard King. It's like, haha, I will straight up throw a Lizard King into a Lizard Man encounter. I thought Lizard Men were neutral. I mean, you know, we're approaching them being, yeah. 8-hit dice attacking you with a sword of sharpness, exhorting all the lizard men to come at you with poison javelins. Yeah, Lava Children also look like Alfred E. Newman. All the lame creatures get upgrades. Cal, is it somebody? Cal, do you need a welfare check, bud? Do you need a hug? A hug from Flump Tentacles? I've seen enough hentai to know where that's going. Why would I mention Lava Children? No. This is if I'm going to suffer, you guys should suffer. I'm not sure if I'm responsible for all the Fiend Folio talk. Well, we got talking about art, and somebody asked about the cover of the Fiend Folio, and that invariably leads to the contents of the Fiend Folio. We can go back to talking about art. I mean, we were talking about the art. A lot of the art in the Fiend Folio is great, and there's some by Errol Otis, there's some by David Sutherland, there's some by who else? What other American artists are in there? But I know Errol and David Sutherland, LaForce maybe. But then there's a bunch by Russ Nicholson, Fangorn, and some UK artists who later went on to do early Warhammer and Warhammer 40K art that is fine stuff. Now that I've heaped scorn and derision on the Fiend Folio, the Monster Manual 2 is really almost as bad. Gary, buddy, spirit of Gary, come here. Sit down. We didn't need another raft of dinosaurs. Doing a Lost World campaign with the 20 that are in the Monster Manual is fine. They're filler. I really don't like Modrons. Demo dads and daemons and so on. Oh, what lives on the planes of neutral evil? Here's a whole hierarchy. I mean, talk about. I liked getting into the politics of hell a little bit more and introducing some new demons. That was cool. Almost mentioned the Drow, but the Drow are in fact in the in the Fiend Folio, which are good, which is good. It's good to have all that. No, Monster Manual 2 is not a step up. The Folio, not Fiend Folio. It's by Art of the Genre. Well, I'll give it a look. I mean, the bulk of the Fiend Folio you get in 4 or 5 modules. And the monsters are tweaked a little bit. So should I be using the monsters that are in S4 and S1 and S2 and S3 and A1 through 4 and C1? I mean, should I be using those? Or should I be using what's in the hardback book? I guess it's probably the hardback book. And then there's silly shit in there too. The Executioner's Hood. Okay, who wants to stick their head in the head-sized hole in the rock wall? Ah, Bob, you got a black gelatinous thing on your face, and we can see your eyes through the eye holes, and you're dancing around screaming, trying to pull it off. Just dumb. But if we dump vinegar or wine over you, it'll get drunk and slip off it. Come on, that's as badly gimmicky as stuff in Fiend Folio. Demo Dan's out of Jack Vance's diet. I don't know. I read enough Dying Earth that the beings from other dimensions that would get summoned and bound by wizards, I just assumed that they were just demons or just extra planar beings, and I never really assigned anything out of Monster Manual 2 to them and how they were. But I mean, I just the plains of Tartarus and Gehenna, why not just have them full of devils and demons? Isn't there enough to do with just them? Serious question. Dungeon Professor in a sword fight with Dungeon Bastard, who wins? I'm gonna give it to Dungeon Bastard because I know his stuff better. Patron idea, the Bill Folio, weird creatures and NPCs for your D&D needs. Maybe. Executioner's Hood, is that inspiration for the head of Vecna meme? No. So, Damien, the Executioner's Hood is a blob monster that looks like a silk hood that you'd put over your head, complete with having eye holes in it. But when you put it on your head, of course, it's like a black pudding and it starts to eat and dissolve, and the person underneath is screaming and suffocating and trying to get it off. It is like, but the thing about it is, it's not described as having like a silk clothy outside. There are so many monsters that drop from the ceiling or can hide in boxes that cover that already, Gary. The tax preparer. Make an egg and use it as a face hugger. Yeah, there you go. Just a face hugger thing that leaps out and gloms onto your face. Now there you go. That brings up there's a lot of stuff, not so much in Monster Manual 2, with the exception of the Modrons, which I don't like. I've never liked Modrons. I thought they were ridiculous, especially like the ones that literally have a jet engine around their waist. Like it just propels them through the ether. No, Gary was still in when Monster Manual 2 dropped. He still had a number of modules and Unearthed Arcana to do. Monster Manual 2 was 82, and he didn't leave till 86. So there was a ways to go. But yeah, Modrons I didn't like, but there was a lot of Fiend Folio that I think worked a lot better as critters for a science fiction campaign. The aforementioned Trilloc, and even Get Yankee and Get Sarai are better for a sci-fi campaign. For that matter, the Mind Flayer works better as a sci-fi campaign. I mean, I would opine that perhaps in the world of Greyhawk, Mind Flayers came there originally on the crashed starship in S3. They were picked up as samples, cryonically frozen, and have slowly infiltrated the world of Greyhawk. Because one of them you see is wearing like a crew jumpsuit, knows how to use grenades and energy weapons and stuff. But yeah, I mean, imagine, God, can you imagine like unleashing xenomorphs from aliens? Like any blow with a stabbing weapon releases a gout of acid that does, I don't know, 3 to 36 points of damage, 3d12 damage. Any weapon that strikes, any edged weapon that strikes, has to make an immediate saving throw versus acid damage. Including magic weapons, they can add their magic bonus to it. Anyone within, say, a 3-foot radius could potentially get sprayed with acid. 2 claws, the tail whip, 2 bite attacks, the outer and inner jaw. And then all the body horror of face huggers and eggs, and then a queen. Yes, the Mind Flayer first appeared in the strategic review, and then later in supplement 3. But I'm just saying, in the world of Greyhawk campaign setting, you could make the case that they came from another planet on the spaceship. Hello, Dungeon Minister. Greetings. A facehugger that infests a mimic that will forever be a chest. The facehugger jumps out of it when the lid is open. Would that be a chest burster? Oh, I cracked me up. A chest burster. I kill me. I really do. But yeah, that's is anyone in this chat under 40? I am 39. This is in fact the 22nd. No, it would be the 14th anniversary of my 39th birthday. So yes, I am, Chip. And what of it, man? Hey, it's all good. Oh, hey, speaking of shout outs, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to a friend of my daughter's who is subscribed to and listens to the channel. He works in a library way off in the wilderness in Canada. He is like not near a major city at all. So I presume that he lives in an igloo and drives a dog sled to and from his igloo to the bigger igloo that's a library. But Robin Irwin, thank you very much for stopping by. Peace. Take care. But no, all kidding aside, I believe she said that she said his name was Tanner, I think. So if I got that right and you're listening, because she said he likes to put your show on while he's arranging books and so on and etc. So I said, if you tell me his name, I will give him a shout out on the show. So if I got that right, I hope I got that right. You just subscribed. Thank you. Thank you, Robin Irwin. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. So up there in the wilds of Canada, that young man doth listen. And with Robin's subscription, well, YouTube's still only saying 977 subscribers. So hopefully it just hasn't caught up yet. Otherwise, somebody unsubbed. I hope that's not the case. Keep on trucking, Robin. 977, yes. But it's been 977 all day, so I think probably, maybe, possibly YouTube has not updated that. So what if you're one of those people who has subscribed recently and you're like, sled polar bears. Oh, like the Death Dealer cover, or not the Death Dealer, the Silver Warrior cover from the from Frank Frazetta. Yeah, I like that. Dungeon Minister with his great broadsword. Anyway, if you're new, if you're one of those folks who've subscribed recently, let me tell you why it's so important, why I'm aiming at reaching 1,000 subs, which we are so close to. It's like right over there. 1,000 subs is right over there, guys, and it's coming this way. At 1,000 subs, we are going to celebrate by having an online tabletop gaming convention. Not a games day, not an afternoon where I'll run an open table of D&D a couple of times. At 1,000 subs, we are going to celebrate with the great underground online gaming con, the Guac. I could have said Delver Con and it would have been a lot easier, but Guac has just taken on a life of its own, as it will if you leave it in the fridge too long, by the way. The Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, wherein I will run OD&D, AD&D, Twilight 2000, Call of Cthulhu, Tales from the Loop, possibly some Warhammer Fantasy. I'll do a demo of Hero Quest. We'll play some Dungeon. I'll do a demo, or we can play. We'll figure out how to make it work. We can play Space Hulk Guac. Yeah, Mobius. Yeah, it's right over there. Look. Are Mobius, are you looking? No, you're looking in the wrong place. More that way. Yeah, now you got, do you see it? It's right over there. The rest of you guys see it? Am I in the way? Yeah. So that's 1,000 viewers and it's coming this way. So when we hit 1,000 subs on the YouTube channel, I will announce and I will set up, and people have asked, is there going to be a sign up sheet? How do my players sign up? Because it's not just me running games, guys. It's not just my games you'll be able to play. I got people from literally all over the world. My co-host, Kyle Schuant. Happy Purim, by the way. Do I, Kyle, if you're watching or listening, do I say happy Purim? I don't know. I'm not being funny and I'm not trying to make a joke out of it. How do it's I hope you have a solemn and respectful Purim. I don't know. But it's the Jewish holiday Purim. And because yesterday was so hectic with me running around with Alan, we missed Kyle's co-host segment. But anyway, Kyle is going to run some Classic Traveler and some Conflict and possibly some D&D. We've got guys that want to run DCC. Gosh, who else? Ricky Maru wants to run Morkborg, which is something that I thought Robin Williams used to say at the end of Mork and Minnie, but apparently it's not. Mork and Mindy. So much good stuff, guys, is going to happen when we hit 1,000 subs on the. So if you're not subbed, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel and you want to get a con on, I'm not talking about the kind where I take your money. You want a gaming convention where you can sit and chill and play some classic role-playing game stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subbed. Click the bell icon for notifications. If you have friends who like tabletop role-playing and because of Andromeda Strain, they haven't been able to get their game on, say, hey, you support Bill's channel and he's going to support the community and give us a convention. Yes, Chip, exactly, precisely. Tell your friends and family. So tell your friends, tell your family, because they're gaming everybody up in here. But yeah, that's a thing that's going to happen when we reach 1,000 subs on this channel, and I am really, really looking forward to it. So I hope that you will strongly consider subscribing to the channel. I should start the whole thing off by preparing some homemade guac. You know, I might. Hey, maybe I can reach out to Jeb Bush, because when he was running for president back in 2016, you could support his race, and I'm not making this up, by buying a guac bowl. Maybe Jeb would want me to buy all of his guac bowls off of him and have the Jeb ! Logo ground off. I don't know. That joke was going somewhere. It wasn't going anywhere funny, but it was going somewhere. So, other events that are happening with me that I want to tell you guys about. As I said yesterday, for the first time in months, I finally got back to Gods and Monsters. I love Todd and Anna so much. I think they're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. They have done awesome stuff and helped me do awesome things. When they have their anniversary, their store anniversary in, I think, June it is, I am going to be down there at their event. They're going to have other vendors out in not the mezzanine, in the atrium area in front of their store. I will be there in Orlando on that date, and I'll get you guys a firm date. I will be there, and I will be running classic Dungeons and Dragons events all day. Not just one gaming event, many gaming events. So if you're in the Central Florida area, or you're going to be in the Central Florida area in June, come on down, and I will have a whole bunch of games. I will go until the property owners are like, get out. That is a thing that's going to happen. I will get you guys a firm date. August the 22nd, I will be appearing at where will I be? Oh my God, I've gone blank. I will be doing an appearance here in, let's see. QuestCon. I will be at QuestCon. I'm sorry, I said the 22nd. It's August the 20th. You know what? I'm gonna get their thing. I'm gonna get their let's see. Let me find their landing page, and I'm going to share this with you. So if you guys are going to be in this neck of the wood, and I got a few folks that are that are out here. I will be at QuestCon Orlando, so you can come out. Dungeon Minister says I have a t-shirt tonight. Guys, this is you guys are making your own merch for this little nutso con that I'm going to do. That is so cool. Like I can't print these up or anything. Like if Dungeon Minister like does some amazing piece of artwork, uh I can't really help you out with that, but you know, that's that's great. That's awesome. Uh yeah, Chip, I'm sorry. I'm in Florida. I'm sorry, I'm in Florida. But I know there's some folks who might be able to make it over here, he said, Doom Sword. Um to be at either of those events. So gosh, don't we have a lot of fun stuff coming up? I've got 2 in-person events happening, and then we've got the con that's going to happen. So there's cool stuff coming up this summer, guys. A virtual con. I'm going to be doing an event at a real con, and Tracy Lesh will be there, by the way. We'll be there with Tracy Lesh. So let's talk about, because I started the show off and we talked about doing the anniversary. It's not going to happen this weekend. It's still going to be on Facebook and on YouTube at the same time, and we're still going to wrap up with the Gygax interview. That's sort of kind of one of the reasons why I use Gygax as the thumbnail. So it's going to happen. It's just not happening right now, right? Next weekend is GaryCon. Now, am I really going to be able to get some of the people that I would like to do call in on the show? Thank you. Yes, Mar, I got your message, and yes, I want to see that. But what was it? I was talking about show. Okay, so yeah, everybody that I have had on my show before, just about, is at GaryCon next weekend. That is a week from this Saturday. Like, and you know, there's people that will be getting there late Wednesday night and doing some early gaming, and they won't leave till late Sunday afternoon. I mean, there's people that are going to be locked in for almost 5 days. God, I envy them that. So there's a lot of folks that I basically I'm going to have just kind of an open invite to some people. Like, yeah, you know, you can just like pick a time slot, hop on, and I'll bring you on. It was, oh, hey, Alan Hammock, or hey, Jim Ward, or, you know, whoever just wants to come on and sit on the 12-hour live stream for a little bit. I'm not going to ask like, everybody do this 12 hours. Come on, let's go. You know, like the characters in The Long Walk, the Stephen King novel. But most of those people, and I'm not just talking about famous people, I mean just folks in general, gamers, just normal nerds like you and me, are going to be at GaryCon or doing virtual GaryCon. They're not going to be around to do 12-hour live stream with me. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I can go for a couple of hours, and I know you guys will stick around, but I don't think you'll be here for a full 12-hour ride, and I don't blame you. But you know, if I said I was going to have, you know, oh look, it's Aerolotus, everybody, you know, you're gonna ping in on that. But it's just me talking all by myself. You know, I want it to be fun. I want it to be engaging. I don't want it just to be me going, oh man, my ass hurts, you know, by hour 7, just checking my watch constantly for the start of of the Gygax interview. So I want it to be, yeah, he might, Doomsword, he might. But I want it to be something where I can get a lot of people engaged and dialed in, and I might meet some of you too. You know, I might throw somebody out there in the audience an invite just to stop in and say hi. You know, maybe just before Gary, I'll just open it up and you guys can have a few minutes to come on before I do the Gary Gygax thing. But the point of all that is, I want to do it after some people that I would like to have guesting on the show over that 12 hours have gotten a chance to come home, unwind, and relax. So this weekend is too soon. Plus, a lot of people are getting ready for Gary Con. Next weekend is Gary Con. So it would be the weekend after Gary Con. And I hate to put you guys off. I know there's a lot of people out there who really, 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 really want to get they want to get that Gygax interview. They want to hear the Gary talk. And I'm not saying you have to wait, except you do. And I'm not saying I'm never gonna release it. Because I am. It's just going to be a little bit longer. So can you guys hang on just a couple more weeks, please? Pretty please. And I promise it'll be awesome. I promise it'll be cool. And who knows, maybe by then we'll be celebrating the anniversary a little late, but we'll be at 1,000 subs and we're 23 away. Ooh, 23. That's a significant number. Little conspiracy theory, little pyramid stuff, little Illuminati confirmed. We're 23 subs away, Illuminati confirmed. So if you guys can wait, if you guys can hang on, I promise the anniversary show will be better than if I try and rush it this weekend, because this week has been hella busy. It's been hella busy. I want to ask you guys something. I want to throw this out here. I have a friend. She's been on the show before. She's on the channel. I hope that stream isn't on the every other Saturday when I run my game. Doomsword, when? Okay, let me ask you this. Are you running a game this weekend? Like, are you running a game in 2 days, Doomsword? I'm waiting for Doomsword. I'm looking up something. There it is. Okay, so if you run it every other week, Doomsword, if you run it every other week, then no, because next weekend, that is 9 days from now, is the middle of Gary Con, and I'm doing it after Gary Con. So if you're running yours the weekend that Gary Con is happening, it won't be when I do the live stream. So I want to. There's a player in my D&D games who is a real sweetheart. She's been a guest on this show a couple of times, just as a gamer. Her online handle is Nutshell Gulag, but she's a real person, and she's a real kitty cat who's having some real problems. If you can, Hit her GoFundMe up. If you haven't seen the post, her little kitty cat Sadie has got some issues going on, and she could really use your help more than I could have used your help with Zeus. So if you got a hot minute and a few dollars to spare, see if you can help Sadie out. See, Doomsword, if I did if I had done the anniversary next weekend, you'd have been doomed. So I am the man. So anyway, if anybody's got a few shekels, they can throw Sadie there, because she's got issues. You can see the deets on it. See, Sadie's GoFundMe didn't get nuked. And by the way, just to update you guys, Zeus's eye is looking a lot better. Monday he goes to the doc for his follow-up, and I will do a live stream from the car, man, if we got good news. You guys will get to see my big, beautiful black labby boy. So my voice is just about shot, and do you guys hear that? Yeah, that's the faint sounds of a cold beer in the fridge calling me. So I'm just about going to wrap up today. Tonight. First of all, I'm sorry about the time screw up, but we still had a good crowd tonight, which was nice, right? That was pretty cool. It's Odin that has the eye thing and has to work his own side of the street. I will tell him that. I will tell him that. But yeah, before I get going, let me take a moment, because I want to thank and I actually, before I do this, let me see. I want to check this out, because I have added a couple of Patreons since last night. And I can't get into my account to change the to change this. So new patrons, I promise I will give you guys a shout. Actually, you know what I can do? Let me see. Or new patron singular. I can go in like this. I can do this. So let me do something here. Calm down. Just doing something here. Now let me show this. I want to thank our Patreons: Digital Discord, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Joseph Lucas, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien X247, James F. Keck, and all the wonderful people at the observatory there in Hawaii. William Smith, the Dungeon Minister, Manny Wall, Mark Corey, my good friend for like over 30 years, Kevin Wood, and Todd Sharp. Thank you all so much for your patronage. I meant every word I said about getting on the stick and thanking you. Jack Photon just announced the PDF, the correct gamebook PDFs are on his site. Go get them, guys. That's amazing stuff. This was an excellent crowd, and this was an excellent show. I feel bad about like hanging it up because there's still like if it just narrowed down as like, there's just a few people left, so I think we're gonna quit it. But it's like we have rocketed at and like I gotta look at this. I said I was gonna be done, and now like if I go to this video, let me see here, and I'm looking. Let me mute it so it doesn't bleed over audio wise. If I look at oh, you're not gonna let me see it, are you? Or will you let me see it? Yeah, I mean we've pretty consistently since about 30 minutes in been at like 13 viewers. Um and maybe that's an under or an overstatement. But if there's still a bunch of people out there that yeah, analytics, I've got it's stayed peaked for a long time. That's like nuts for me. Um I almost feel bad about just like being like, bye, I'm done, bye. Um so like I don't I don't want to just leave. I'm famous or something. Well, I mean, sort of, maybe. Um All right, guys. All right. I'm going to jet. Thank you all for watching tonight. Thank you for coming on, even though it was almost 40 minutes after I said I start. For folks who sat expectantly, and I know there were 3 or 4 people who were waiting to watch over on YouTube and it never, or over on Facebook and it never started on Facebook. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll make it up to my Facebook fans somehow. I'll do it. Good night. Peace. I love you all. You make this worth doing. It's awesome. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.